Alex Bregman mashing, Walker Buehler shoving, and Connor Wong hitting a big home run. All of that and more were some of the many things Gabby experienced on her spring training trip this weekend.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's completely free. So you have nothing to lose but to tune in because Locked On is your team every day. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the show. I apologize for dropping today's episode so late. I did get home really late last night on a flight back home from Fort Myers. So I'm definitely still recovering from what was a fantastic and fun weekend trip down there. I got a ton of sun. So I've definitely been a little tired the last couple days here as I sat in the beautiful, warm, 80-degree weather down there and watched a couple Red Sox spring training games and got to really get a sense of where a lot of the prospects and current players are at. And on today's show, I'm going to be talking all about my trip down there as promised. I flew up really early Saturday morning, so it definitely made the most of the time, even though it was a short trip, going from Saturday morning and then flying back Monday night. So definitely not a long time, but also a full 3 days that I definitely maximized and made the most of. And one of my favorite things about being down there was how much they made it feel like a Fenway experience between playing Sweet Caroline and during the seventh inning playing Take Me Out to the Ball Game and people replacing home team with Red Sox and just really feeling like you were at Fenway Park. Wally and Tessie walking around, interacting with fans and dancing on top of the dugouts during the seventh inning stretch. I mean, it was just a great environment. They also have a golf putting challenge, which I thought was interesting, both on Saturday and Sunday. They had a fan who was at the game that came up and had 3 chances to make a golf putt. And it was on a little mini golf course, if you want to call it, just like one of those roll up things where they have 3 holes that you can try to hit the ball into, but both times the person could not make the putt, so they were unable to win the prize. But it was fun because that's a little deviation from what you do see at Fenway, so that was pretty interesting. But overall, it was super fun. A lot of people are in good spirits down there, and people were just ready for the season. And being down there just made me really excited for baseball season to come. I cannot wait to see Red Sox games more regularly and be at games at Fenway again. And life is just better when it's baseball season. That's always the motto that I give. And being down at spring training games made it feel real and feel like, okay, opening day is right around the corner. So definitely looking forward to that. And I saw lots of good things from some Red Sox players. Alex Bregman had some loud outs. He was crushing baseballs. And even when it was for an out, they were still hit really hard. I mean, he hit a really deep fly ball for an out, and he was really able to take advantage of a lot of the ballpark. And that's a good sign because JetBlue Park really is built very similar to Fenway on the inside. The Green Monster is a little bit different, but overall it generally is pretty similar. So the fact that he was able to utilize all areas of the park is a sure sign that he'll hopefully be able to carry that over into playing in Boston. So my biggest takeaway from Bregman is he hits the ball hard, and the Red Sox really need that type of power in the lineup. So what he can bring to the table is the ability to just really smoke those baseballs, and hopefully he can hit some of those for home runs heading into this upcoming season. Connor Wong hit a big home run in Saturday's game. The catching situation is an interesting one. I've talked about it extensively over the course of the offseason and who the backup catcher to Connor is going to be, but he is obviously the starting catcher. The Red Sox trust him, and they believe that he's the guy who will be successful in that role moving forward. But the question has just been who's going to be his backup. But we need a big season from Connor going into 2025, because over the last couple seasons, we've seen some slow but sure growth from him offensively. He's making more hard contact. He's not striking out as much, and he's able to have some more impactful at bats. And when I say impactful, I mean being able to advance base runners, because even if you ground out, but you advance base runners to second and third from first to second, that's still a productive at bat to me. So what Connor Wong has been able to do has been to have those types of productive at-bats to where he's at least advancing the runners, even if he is recording an out. So I really liked a lot of what I saw from him in that regard in 2024. He also was taking more chances on the base paths and picked up some steals. So he definitely, from a confidence perspective at the plate, we definitely saw him start to gain a lot of that as the season progressed. So can he carry that over into 2025? Hopefully he can. And that home run that he launched the other day hopefully provided him with some of that boost of energy that he needs going into the season to say, okay, I got this. I can go out there and continue to crush baseballs heading into 2025. So that was certainly promising, but his defense is definitely an area of his game that's still a weakness. He had a lot of trouble behind the plate in 2024. So that's something that I'm looking at as what are the Red Sox going to do defensively at catcher? And the backup catcher should be somebody who hopefully has a reliable defensive ability, because they can couple that with Wong's offensive ability, and that could make for a good catching tandem. But his defense, I didn't really see a whole lot of improvement in that regard. He didn't have any complete blunders defensively when I saw him in the game, but he definitely could still improve in that area, because you can tell he's a little bit shaky when it comes to framing and knowing how to maximize that space behind the plate. So I'm looking to see more from him defensively heading into 2025. But overall, when it comes to the catching situation, I was able to see Carlos Narvaez play a good amount as well. And he is a guy who has a really good arm. He has showcased a lot of power in that area in his time in these spring training games so far. And I'm looking to him to be a guy who can maintain that level of reliability, because again, like I talked about with Wong and not really being a great defender, if Narvaez is the backup catcher on opening day, then him having that strong defensive ability can kind of help, at least with the situation of the Red Sox feeling like they have a well-rounded catching tandem as a whole. Because if you pick another guy that's like Connor Wong, who struggles defensively, to be the backup catcher come opening day, then you're going to really feel like you're hurting defensively in that area in general. So Narvaez is definitely somebody who could cancel that out for Wong, because what I saw from him was a lot of really good stuff. Quick to deliver when somebody's trying to steal a base. He has an absolute cannon of an arm to get the ball down there, which I really like. And he made some really nice stops behind the plate too. So defense is definitely his strength, is what I took away from that in his game. And look out for his offense to continue to improve. But he's a catcher that certainly has a good chance to be that guy behind Wong heading into the season. Now, you then take another guy on the roster in Masataka Yoshida. This is a guy who, to me, is due to have a big season here in 2025. He had not fully been healthy in 2024. He took some time this offseason to get himself back to being healthy, and now he heads into 2025 healthy and ready to go. And he's hoping to take some reps in the outfield, and the Red Sox have been allowing him to practice in the outfield a little bit, but I think the goal for him right now is to still primarily be a designated hitter. Now, obviously, the Rafael Devers situation comes into play with that too. But the one thing I liked about Yoshida is he had a couple really productive at-bats in Sunday's game. A ground rule double that he hit, and then he hit a single in his next at-bat. So obviously, anything I talk about related to spring training is a small sample size. There will be some players who play more than others throughout the course of the spring. But from what I saw from him, he had a really strong swing, and it looked like he was improving it a little bit from last year in terms of his approach at the plate and being able to attack the plate a little bit more on the off-speed pitches. And that was something that I really pinpointed as an area of his game that needed to improve heading into this upcoming season, was how well is he able to effectively hit the off-speed stuff, because we didn't really see him able to be effective as much on those types of pitches last year. But he definitely had a different approach in these couple at bats that I saw from him in regards to at least attempting to hit the off-speed pitches with a little bit more force than we saw from him last year. And he's still killing it on the fastballs. That is the best pitch that he's going to attack. But him being able to get more exposure to the off-speed stuff is going to help determine the type of season he's going to have offensively in 2025. And we need him to have a big year. We need him to be a huge part of the offense. I mean, the Red Sox are paying him a lot of money to go out there and deliver on offense. And I still don't see him being a super power heavy hitter. I did dive into his numbers on the show last week, and he doesn't really hit a lot of home runs at a frequent basis, but he can at least be a guy who can go out there and hopefully be productive in other ways. He didn't showcase that he all of a sudden developed that power, which I don't think he will. But what I liked seeing from him was that he was really aggressive out there at the plate. And I think him not being healthy in 2024 held him back from really going at it 100% and really attacking that plate. So that's what I liked seeing from him. And I'm excited to see more of what he can do in 2025. He made a lot of noise in his at-bats for sure. And hopefully that's something that can continue. But coming up, I'm going to be continuing to talk about my Fort Myers trip for the Boston Red Sox, not only just about the players, but also about the experience. So that's coming up next. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. FanDuel is a great way to make lots of money quickly. My husband started using it during baseball season last year, and he has made so much money since then. He bets a lot on NBA games now, and tons of different parlays involving tons of different teams. And once baseball season starts, he'll be adding on to that frequency at which he's betting. And it's made him a ton of money. So if you're looking for a personal experience, this is 100% it. I promise you it'll be so worth it if you just download the app today and start making as much money as you can, because who doesn't love money? I know I do. So definitely check out FanDuel today. I really enjoyed going down to spring training and being able to experience the Red Sox down there. I was able to interact with a lot of different people. Tons of people are excited about the season. Walker Buehler is really excited to be in Boston, and that showed in his performance on Sunday when he made his debut, and he pitched 2 innings and was really solid. Looked a little bit shaky in the first inning to start, but then once he cleaned it up, he was unstoppable. And then his second inning was even better. So I was really impressed by what I saw from him and the fact that he was able to go out there and just shove. And his velocity definitely is basically there. I mean, he was averaging about 96 to 97 miles an hour on his fastball. If he can improve that by a little bit more, just improve it slightly, then he could be really unstoppable for this Red Sox rotation. And I've talked a lot about leadership, and Walker Buehler is a guy who definitely portrays that leadership. I even noticed when he got off the mound in Sunday's game, and he'd go back into the dugout, and he was really encouraging the guys, trying to keep them focused and making sure that they understand, don't take this lightly, because even though it's spring training and the result of the game doesn't necessarily count towards our record, you're still fighting for playing time. And it's good for the younger players to hear that. These prospects who are trying to earn spots on the team to begin with, I mean, that's good for them to hear something like that and have the type of energy that he brings to the table rubbing off on them, because that's an absolute game changer for some of these players. I mean, if you look at guys like Marcelo Mayer, Roman Anthony, and Christian Campbell, these are guys who are really hungry to get up to the majors, and their spring is going to help determine when that might happen for them. And if they're struggling during spring training, that's going to impact their ability to get onto the major league roster come opening day. So the Red Sox definitely are paying a lot of attention to how these younger players perform. And a guy like Buehler being in there to help encourage some of them in the dugout is huge. And the other thing I really liked seeing from Buehler was his intensity out there. He was really focused, but super locked in on the mound and just wanted to go out there and strike guys out. And having that dog type of mentality is going to get you far in this sport. And he understands what it's like to have to stay focused under pressure. I mean, pitching in the World Series to close out the series and win it for your team. I mean, talk about pressure there. So for him, being able to perform under that type of pressure is definitely proof that he can go out there and make things happen. And it's proof that he'll give 100% no matter what. And I really was relieved to see him go out there and pitch well, because things have been buzzing around about him in terms of, is he going to be able to stay on the field? Is he going to be able to consistently pitch well for the Boston Red Sox? What version of him are we going to get? But I saw a version of him out there on Sunday that honestly looked like he wanted to have the season of his life. And he doesn't really have a choice because he's only on a 1-year deal right now. So if he wants to solidify a contract for 2026 and beyond, he's going to have a really strong season in 2025. And I think you're really going to like him if you're a Red Sox fan. I think you're really going to like the intensity that he portrays on the mound. And this is a guy who is at a point in his career where he's already proved a lot, but wants to continue to prove even more. And having him surrounding some of the younger players is absolutely huge. So that energy that he brought was phenomenal. I will say and point out that they don't have Fenway Franks at Fenway South, which I was a little bit disappointed about. They have big hot dogs that will definitely fill you up. I ate one of those and I was really full after eating it. But generally, some of the food is different, and they do have people walking around at the seats to ask if you want anything, like they do at Fenway Park. Like I saw somebody coming around with beer and water. So they do have those people who are coming around to your seats, but it's not as frequent as they do it at Fenway. And I actually overheard somebody behind me at one point saying, where are the people who are walking around with the food and everything? Like, do they not do that here? So they do. They're not really yelling it as much either, like popcorn, get your popcorn here. That doesn't really take place as much, but they do have people who are providing stuff that you can get from your seat. So everything there was delicious. I mean, similar in regards to the type of food that they had generally, like, I mean, chicken tenders and French fries, hamburger and French fries, hot dog and French fries. But I was disappointed that they did not call them Fenway Franks, and they were not the same. They didn't taste the same. So in that regard, there are things that are a little bit different. And the ballpark as a whole is smaller than Fenway. I mean, the seats are definitely a little bit closer to the field in general. And if you walk around the whole ballpark, it doesn't take nearly as long as it does at actual Fenway Park, and it doesn't have any sort of Jersey Street or anything surrounding it. It's not like you step outside JetBlue Park and there's all these restaurants and things to do like there is in Boston. So it's a little bit of a different vibe in that regard. It's just kind of on a busy road where there's a bunch of stores and some houses, and it's just kind of there, the ballpark. So there isn't really the effect like you have at Fenway in terms of having all of these things available around you to do. But it's a great experience being there. The traffic getting into it is miserable. I mean, where I was staying was only 7 miles from the ballpark, but it ended up being an over 30-minute Uber each time that I would go because it was just so backed up there. So in that regard, I definitely would recommend getting there as early as you can so that you're not dealing with a lot of the traffic if you do go down. But so many good vibes down there at JetBlue Park, and everybody's so nice. And the cool thing about it too is after games, they kind of let you stick around for a bit. Anybody really can. I mean, I saw fans hanging out on top of the Green Monster for a good while after the game ended on Sunday. And then the team store stays open for a good while after the game. So people walk around inside the team store. They have the 2013 and 2018 World Series trophies out for display. People were taking pictures with those. People were taking pictures with all of the other things at the ballpark, like the David Ortiz statue and the Wally statue. And there's just so many different things that you can do. And there's people selling Red Sox apparel right as you walk into the ballpark. So just a really good atmosphere. And obviously on top of that, it was really warm. So I enjoyed the experience of being there, and how I would describe it was just a typical baseball day. I felt like I was at a baseball game in Florida. And to me, it felt like it was the regular season, even though we knew subconsciously that it was spring training and these games didn't count. But I highly recommend anybody going down there. And in terms of pricing for tickets, I mean, for fans to go and buy tickets on a ticketing app, there really are not that bad relative. And that's definitely good to be of note if you're looking to go down there with your family, that the experience overall, if you're going to go to the ballpark, the tickets themselves are just not as bad as they are at a lot of other regular major league games. So that's definitely good too to keep in mind, but no bad seats there for sure. Everybody's in good spirits, and the players were definitely in good spirits too. Happy to be down in Florida. Alex Cora was all smiles. Third base coach Kyle Hudson was all smiles. Jason Varitek was all smiles. Just a good vibe down there. And you notice guys who are going to step up and be leaders, and you already can tell that with Bregman and Buehler, but you definitely want to see a guy like Tristan Casas break out of his shell a little bit more this year. What's he going to look like heading into 2025? This is a big year for him, and I'm hoping to see some impressive things from him as spring training progresses. But I definitely enjoyed watching a lot of these guys play. And coming up, I'm going to close out with some of the biggest things you need to know if you're going to head down to spring training. Don't forget that Locked On Red Sox is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Just subscribe to the show. I am here every day, Monday through Friday, bringing you the latest going on with the Boston Red Sox. I'll be bringing guests on, and I will be also discussing various other things, whether it's with the major league team, the minor league teams, or just anything involving the Red Sox organization. This is the spot for you. You can follow the show on Twitter too at LO_Red Sox and interact with other fans there. So it's definitely a very exciting opportunity to be able to go and meet new Red Sox fans and maybe catch some people at games that you recognize. So definitely join that little Red Sox Twitter community there by subscribing to the show and following it on Twitter as well. I look forward to seeing some of you there. And I do appreciate you tuning in to Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. For your next listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball with hosts Dominic Martino and Matthew One. MLB Fantasy Draft season is here. Be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm ready for fantasy baseball. I'm excited. I took a break from it last year. I know it is a lot of work, but I'm going back to it this year, hopefully to a win. So I certainly will be listening to Locked On Fantasy Baseball, as you should too. If you want to know if it's worth taking certain players onto your fantasy team this year, like Alex Bregman, who I would say 100% yes, because I think he's absolutely going to rake. So definitely check out that show next, but continue to make Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every day. Go Red Sox! I am so excited for this upcoming season, and being down in Fort Myers for spring training made it even more exciting for me. If you're trying to go down there to watch some spring training games, I highly recommend it. It's an experience where when you come back, you'll just be itching for baseball season to start. So maybe you're better off going later in spring training than I did, but it's just a great way to get excited for the season. Lots of talent down there, and a guy like Marcelo Mayer, really being able to see him and his swing in person was special to me, because he's been talked about as a really highly regarded prospect in the sport, of course, and not even just with the Red Sox, but also other teams have took notice of how talented he is, and the fact that he has a really good chance to eventually be one of the best players in the sport later on in his career. So if he keeps hitting the way that he has been in spring training, he definitely is making a case for being called up to the majors at some point during this season, which is really exciting because he had been injured. So he hadn't gotten to play in any games in AAA yet. He actually hadn't taken a single at bat in AAA. So for him to be able to go out there and crush baseballs, and I mean crush some really loud outs, similar to Alex Bregman, doesn't utilize as many parts of the ballpark yet, but that comes over time with him continuing to learn and develop still. And he is going to pick up on certain things that work and do not work for him because he is still young and figuring things out. But he has a great swing. He just is built to be a baseball player, and his framing is great. He takes up a lot of space when he's up at the plate because of his stance when he's batting, and he just looks ready out there. And I really like that aspect of his game, that his swing is loud and makes a lot of noise. And it looks like he's going to be a guy who, as long as he keeps hitting like that, could get his opportunity in the major sooner rather than later, depending on the status of Trevor Story and what happens with the second base situation as well. Because if Bregman plays second base and then Trevor Story gets injured at shortstop, then you could have Mayer come up and play shortstop, or they do some other moving around and they maybe put David Hamilton at shortstop or move Cedar Rafaela to shortstop and then have Alex Bregman stay at second. So it really just depends on timing. But with Marcelo, I think they wanted to give him some time in AAA before he gets called up because he hasn't taken a single at bat yet at that level. But I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't spend that much time there and the Red Sox say, okay, we can call him up because he is looking really, really good. So in that regard, he's a prospect that's really promising that you can really look forward to seeing, because to me, these guys are the future. These are the guys that you want to look good in spring training so that they can continue to build up that strength and ability to perform well at the major league level. So he was somebody who really has stood out to me. And when I was down there, he definitely was trying to learn. I saw him asking questions to Alex Bregman, asking questions to Alex Cora. So he definitely was really inquisitive. And when he was in the dugout, he would try to get advice from them and tips on certain things about the mechanics of his swing. And I think that's going to pay dividends for him later on. So I'm super excited about Mayer. I think the other thing in general that I would say I'm excited about is the pitching staff as a whole and what they have the ability to do. I am a little bit concerned about Liam Hendriks still. His velocity is down. He needs to get that up a little bit more in order for me to feel confident in him not getting rocked in the majors this year. I'm hoping that that's because he's working his way back from injury, and lots of pitchers do throw a little bit slower during the spring as they're working to get their arm back up to the level that they need it to be. So I'm hoping that that's part of it, and that is just of him trying to really get back up to speed. But he does need to increase that velocity a little bit more in order for me to feel confident in his abilities moving forward at the major league level. But you look at a guy like Justin Slayton, who looked good on Sunday in the game when I was there, quick to the plate and didn't look like he really lost any of his stamina from last year. So that's really important to note heading into this year, is he's somebody who could still be relied on to pitch in high leverage, because he showed that he had the ability to do that last year. And now that he went into the spring and was able to pitch effectively so far here, I like his chances heading into the 2025 season. I definitely want to see Garrett Whitlock go out there and pitch and kind of see what he can do, because he's somebody who the Red Sox need to be healthy this year. So I'm hoping that he can be. But overall, I think the pitching staff has a chance to be really good. Tanner Houck pitched in the first game on Saturday that I was at, and he looked decent. He definitely had his struggles, but I'm hoping that that's just him trying to get back into things. So I'm not really reading too much into that. I mean, he still got a good amount of swings and misses, and he still was able to pitch to a level that we're used to seeing from him in terms of his velocity, but he definitely didn't look as sharp as we've necessarily seen from him always in the past. I mean, the Red Sox ended up winning the game against the Twins 8-4, and Aroldis Chapman came out of the bullpen and got the win, throwing 1 inning, giving up 0 hits, 0 earned runs, and striking out 2. But he also did give up 2 walks. And that's the thing to note with Chapman, is he does walk the house. But as far as Houck goes, he went 3 innings, giving up 3 hits and 2 earned runs. Didn't strike out anybody. So he definitely needs to work on that a little bit more throughout the course of the spring, is making sure that he's generating the strikeouts, because guys were swinging and missing at his stuff. Don't get me wrong. He definitely did have guys who would completely have the ball go right past them. So it's not like he wasn't able to trick them in that capacity, but actually finishing the strikeout is something that I want to see more of from him throughout the rest of the spring. But overall, I like the pitching staff and what I've seen from them as a whole. Definitely the guys who are likely going to have spots on the major league team going into the season. But overall, those were my biggest observations from the games that I was at. The clubhouse vibes in terms of the veteran leaders helping to mentor the younger players. There's definitely a lot of that going on from what I've noticed, as well as guys just out there focusing on chipping away at these at-bats and just trying to get better. And Alex Cora was in really good spirits, and everybody seems to be excited about the season from what I saw. So biggest pieces of advice for you if you want to go down to spring training: try your best to avoid the traffic, show up early to games, pick a place to stay that is relatively close in proximity to the ballpark, because it'll just make everything a lot more convenient for you when you're trying to get back and forth. There are so many great restaurants there, lots of places that have outside seating because of the beautiful weather. So that's something you can get there, as well as live music at a lot of places and happy hours and just fun things that go on. And if you go into downtown, there's a lot to do at night downtown. Lots of places are open. So definitely lots of other things to do there that are fun besides the baseball. But if you go, you will have the absolute time of your life, I promise. And if you have any questions at all about any of it, feel free to reach out to me, because it was one of the best weekends I've ever had. And it was so much fun just being there and watching some baseball and being around the Red Sox again. So we'll have to see how they perform in the rest of spring, who gets onto the opening day roster and who doesn't. But I appreciate you making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. And thank you for your patience on me dropping this episode again. But like I always say, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.